So hey guys, here's a long-awaited UFO video. This is quite a bit of a long story, so if you're not into long stories, I suppose, and if this isn't for you, I suppose you can click out. But this is for the people that have asked for this story. So I'm going to start with a saying from the Golden Girls, one of my favourites being Sophia. So picture it. Scotland, summer's evening, beautiful, a few years back. So in Scotland, we deal with some pretty weird time zones. In the summer, it can be light up until maybe 10ish at night. Then it's back to sunlight again at maybe 3, 4 in the morning, which is a bloody nightmare because it's so difficult to sleep. But yeah, so this happened on a summer's evening. Around maybe 7, 8 o'clock, I decided to go and visit a friend, just for a general chit chat and catch up. She lived, and her house was fairly close to mine, so I decided to walk, which was only about a 4 or 5 minute walk. So I left, and it was a lovely summer's day, so didn't need a jacket, anything. Had my little gladiator sandals on, and decided to venture up there. I got up there maybe about 5 past, 10 past 7, and we sat and we nattered away, as Scottish people would say. We blethered, which is basically chatting away. We got to chatting about loads of different subjects, and by the time, I think time just escaped us. So I ended up looking up at the clock, and it was 11 o'clock at night. So I said to her, well, I better get home because I'd left my oldest daughter in the house. So I said my goodbyes, and decided to start walking home. So I'm walking home, and I get halfway from her home to my home. Now, as I'm walking, to put it into perspective, my home, when I'm walking home, I have to pass this block of apartments, which totally hides the road that I have to cross. Now, as I get by these apartments, it verges onto like an open road, and this is an open road in a housing estate. And a housing estate in Britain is what we call like an area where there's loads of houses, fairly grouped together. So I have to cross this road to get to the other side. And I'm listening to, at the time I had a BlackBerry, so I'm listening to music on the way walking home. And just as I start walking by these apartments, I notice that my BlackBerry totally dies, which I found was pretty strange because I had nearly a full battery, but the power just drained. So I took my phone out of my pocket, thinking it had maybe switched off, but it hadn't. I couldn't even switch it back on. So I thought, okay, I'll have another bash at it when I get home. So as I'm coming to the end of these apartments, ready to cross this road. Out of the corner of my eye, a spot it was like a reddy, orangey kind of light. And I assumed at the time, oh God, there's a house on fire or something. God, I wish that's what was happening. Anyway, I turn to see if what I suspected was true, that there could be somewhere on fire. As I turned, I was to say that I was in shock is an understatement. Just above these houses, there was 3 homes. There was this flying, which I can only call a ship. And the picture that I'm kind of showing you in this article, is, if you can see it, is a good representation of what I saw. The ship, it was so close to me that I could see basically everything about this thing. It was dark grey in colour, wasn't shiny, it was matte. It didn't have like a dome on top. And from the picture, like I'm trying to show you, it had more like a rectangular kind of top, but it wasn't squared off like a rectangle. It was just that kind of shape. Underneath, and that's where the light came from, there was this colour just under the underbelly of this thing. And it was a swirling kind of pattern that went from orange to red to green. It was very mesmerising. I've never seen anything like it in my life. What I did notice was that there was no sound, absolutely nothing. And it hovered above these homes, and I'm thinking, what the hell is this? Because I've been in, as you know, in the military, and I know that Army aircraft or RAF aircraft cannot fly in residential areas. I'm sure there's I might be wrong, but I'm sure there's a law that prohibits them from doing this. So my mind's thinking to myself, why is there a military craft just hovering above these homes? And then I'm thinking, no, it can't be that, because they're not allowed to do that. So I'm staring at this thing in utter shock, because it's a disc. It's what you would as you see in the picture, what you would classify as a disc. Now, I've never seen anything like this in my life, and I was just absolutely mesmerised. Now, after I'm standing there, I'm kind of in the middle of the road at this point. I feel this vibrating, and all I can attribute to is as if something was vibrating from the inside of my body, like from my bones outwards. It wasn't like I was touching something and it was vibrating. It was like the whole of my body was vibrating. Then this thing started hovering again with no sound, towards the middle of the road. And I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, if I see that, that obviously sees me. And the fear kind of sets in. And I didn't believe in anything like UFOs like that before. If anyone had told me, oh, I've seen a UFO, I would have been like, oh yeah, okay. You know, you're needing to put your tinfoil hat back on. So I'm staring at this thing, and as I said, it comes out into the middle of the road. And I couldn't move. It was like my feet were stuck in cement. Now, as I said, the flight or fight kicked in. And I thought to myself, I need to get away from this thing. But as I'm turning, it feels as though I'm actually wading through what I can only describe as oil, like thick oil. So it's kind of like, that scene from like Chariots of Fire where they're in slow motion and it's like dun 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 dun. Well, that was me. Well, I managed to break away and I bolted. I started running so fast. I didn't even look behind me, but I'm sure if I did, there would have been like a fucking trail of dust of where I'd started running, So I'm bolting it. I'm absolutely running towards my friend's home because I didn't want to cross the rest of the road and try and head to my home because that's where this thing was. So I get to my friend's home and I notice all of her lights are out. The house is in complete darkness. So I thought to myself, she must have got to bed pretty early. And I'm banging on her door. Open the door, let me in, open the fucking door, let me in. So I see the whole light click on and my friend eventually answers the door. And it looks as though like she's just woke up, she's rubbing her eyes and acting kind of confused. And I bolt into her house, I run into her house. And she said to me, what are you doing here? What are you doing here at this time? And at that point, it didn't even click to me. I just assumed that, in fact, I don't know what I assumed. I actually ended up running to her bathroom and vomiting. I was that scared. So she's trying to get out of me why I'm back and what's wrong with me. And I was in so much shock. And this was coming from what I remember and what my friends told me. I was in that much shock, I couldn't even get my words out properly. And all I kept shouting was, they tried to take me, it tried to chase me, it tried to chase me. And she's saying, what are you talking about? What tried to get you? And I'm saying, the ship tried to get me. And she's looking at me crazy. She's saying, there's no sea around here. There's no docks. There's no ships anywhere near here. The closest one's in Edinburgh. And I says to her, you don't understand. The ship tried to take me. Because what I hadn't also said as my body was vibrating, I also felt this pulling sensation. It felt like it was pulling me towards whatever this thing was. And in the back of my mind, and I can put it into this analogy at the moment, the back of my mind, I'm thinking, at this point, because this was a few years ago, remember, I just didn't want to be snatched up quicker than toilet rolls during COVID. So I'm up at her house. She's trying to get whatever's going on out of me. And I'm saying to her, the ship. They tried to take me. Now she's started assuming that that someone had tried to kidnap me. And I'm like, they did try to kidnap me. The ship in the sky tried to take me. By this time, she'd already lifted her phone because she was about to phone the police. But then she put it back down again when I said the ship tried to take me in the sky. And she said, what's going on? Why? She says, I was pure white. Why are you acting this way? And I'm said to her, you don't believe what I've just seen. You don't believe what I've just seen. If I hadn't seen it with my own two eyes, I would think I was crazy. You haven't believed what I've just seen. And she's thinking to herself, because she couldn't get the direct answer out of me. Who tried to take you? She says, then she's asking, did you find someone that was deceased? Have you found a dead body? And I'm like, no. And I'm saying to her, no. I wish, God forbid, I would never like to find a dead body, but in my state of mind, I'm saying, I wish that's what I found. She says, did you see something strange? And I'm like, yeah, I'll bloody say. So she then was getting a bit peeved off, and she says to me, look, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You've woke me up out of my bed. What the hell is wrong? And I says, what time? That can't be right. It can't be 3 o'clock in the morning. I've just left here. And she said, no, you didn't just leave here. I says, I did just leave here. I left here at 11 o'clock. I says, I got halfway down the road, which means I've made it back up to your house for at least 11:05. She said, you left 3 hours ago. And my mind just couldn't comprehend this. And I says, no, your clock must have stopped. It's only about 11:05. And so she went and got her mobile phone, and she says, look, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. She says, if you went all the way down to your home and then came back up here, what for? I says, I didn't. I says, what are you talking about? I've just left here. I didn't even get down the road. So then she goes back to the whole kidnapping thing. She said, did someone take you? Were you kidnapped? And I'm like, no. I says, I only left here 5 minutes ago. How could I have been blooming kidnapped in the space of 5 minutes? And that's when she took a stern voice to me, and she says, Angela, you left here at 11 o'clock. It is now 3 o'clock in the morning. You didn't just leave here. You've been gone for hours. She says, I went to my bed around 11:30, 11:45. She said, I fell asleep and you've just banged me up out of my bed. She says, what is wrong with you? So she made me like a cup of tea, and I kinda calmed down. But not so much when I found out the time. And I said to her, as I was walking home and I got by this certain street, there was a strange ship in the sky hovering above these houses. I said, I felt this vibrating feeling through my body, and then like a pulling sensation, but I got away from it. Although like it was felt like it was in slow motion, I got away. And she says, are you sure you got away? And she's still not clicking on to like what I'm saying. And I just blurted it out, eh? I says, there was what looked like a flying saucer hanging above these houses. I seen it, then it came out into the middle of the road, but all this time I'm feeling these vibrational, this vibration going through my body, and it almost felt like I was mesmerised. Then like a pulling sensation, and I was gone. I says, but when I ran, I didn't know if this thing was still in the middle of the road. I didn't even bother to check. Now the 3 hours thing, that was the thing that got me the most confused. Because I'm thinking I've left, it's at 11, get back to my friend's house and it's 3. So where's the 4 hours that I couldn't account for? So I'm thinking to myself, so anyway, I'm getting ahead of the story here. So I was so terrified to go out by myself at night that I made my friend call a taxi cab for me because I refused to go outside. I made her wait at the door till I got in the taxi cab. I mean, the drive was only literally a minute away. The cab driver was like, you're a young, fit girl, that's just laziness walking down the road at this time of night. I says, sir, if you'd seen what I've just seen and experienced, what I've just experienced, you would have got a bloody jet down to your house rather than go out at night. So I'm still got this 4 hours missing time in my mind. And I'm thinking that my friend's punking me. So I get home and go into the house, go in and check on my daughter. She's fast asleep. And then I check the clocks in my own house. And it was, by this time it was like 3:15. Because, no, maybe a bit later, maybe about 3:30. Because I obviously chatted with my friend and then phoned a cab, waited for it. When I get this cab down the road, I actually made the cab driver stop and watch me walk into my own house. So I'm looking at the clocks in my home, and it's past 3. And I just couldn't make sense of it. So I'm thinking, what the hell, like, did I have a nervous breakdown? Did I just stand in the middle of the road for 4 hours just staring at the sky? Then I'm thinking, nah, that would be ridiculous. Surely, like, one of the homes in that neighbourhood would have seen some crazy girl standing in the middle of the road, staring up into the sky like a freak, and not moving. So they would have called the police on that. So I don't know what happened. Absolutely what happened. And to be honest, if I'm being honest, I really don't know what if I would ever want to find out. But the strangeness didn't stop there. As I was young, when I was younger, I had lots of kidney problems. I was born with a kidney abnormality where my left kidney is so badly damaged, it just doesn't work anymore. It's so scarred and damaged. So I've got to go for regular testing. So my next appointment, I go and I get my usual done, and they do scans and stuff like that. And then the doctor pulled me into the room, and he said, "You were here a few months ago," he said, "and your pituitary glands, which are the glands that like regulate, I would say, like your immune system, things like that." He says your pituitary glands that we can see in this scan are here, but this new scan, they're completely they're completely gone. They're destroyed. And he says, "I've never seen anything like this." And I says, "What do you mean they're gone?" He says, they're just not there anymore. So then he says to me, "Because of this, you've now got a condition called Addison's disease." Now, this was a condition that President Kennedy had. But it's also a condition that can be fatal if, for example, you catch a bug or something and you're sick. You can't keep medication or anything down. So you have to be hospitalised and put in your own room and given IV steroids and painkillers and stuff like that, because it also affects your joints. So he said that this doesn't normally present in women until the age of 30. And I wasn't 30 at this time. He says, so it's highly unusual, but the extent to which it's done, he says, normally takes, it doesn't happen as fast as this. So he was puzzled. And then I just kept going back to like what had happened that night. And obviously I'm not going to tell my doctor, "Oh, by the way, I seen a flying saucer in the top of somebody's house. It seen me, I seen it. I ran like bloody Wile E. Coyote back to my friend's house that I'd left 4 hours ago. 5 minutes ago. But then when I went back after I seen these things, this ship, 4 hours had passed." Obviously I'm not going to tell him that. I didn't want committed, you know. So I don't know if that was the cause of what had happened. I mean, it could very well be that I stood in the middle of the road like a freak, staring up at the sky for 4 hours. But because of the area which I stand in, because it happened, there would have been houses. If someone had just passed their window, they would have saw me and they would have called the police. And I knew that the military didn't fly ships in residential areas. So I left it for a few years. I didn't even want to tell anyone because I didn't want to have that reputation of, oh, there goes Angela, the crazy bloody UFO person, you know. And sometimes, like, I wish, not for it to happen again, but I just wish that for my, not even to sell, but I just wish for my own self, you know, to prove to yourself that these things are real, to get a picture or something of it. But as I said, as soon as I got fairly near this thing, it was as if, yeah, my phone absolutely died. And that phone never switched on again. And when I took it in to get fixed, the repairman said it was as if the battery had kind of over, the way he described it to me, it'd been like, he said, if you've been near anything that gives out like electric pulses, because the battery was just totally, yeah, it was gone. There was no way to fix my phone. And I'm like, I says, no, not at all. When I was using it and walking home, it was absolutely fine. So I had to go and then repurchase a new phone. But to describe this thing, as I said, it was huge, absolutely huge. It was gunmetal, black, grey. It had this weird swivelly light at the bottom of it, which I can't even describe because I've never seen anything like it. And then, having been in the military, especially where I was posted, with lots of aircrafts coming in, etc., because there was 2 camps where I lived. One was mine, another one was an adjacent one, where we had like the Gurkhas, and we had the intelligence guys. So yeah, I hadn't ever seen anything like this, and it had no sound whatsoever. It just silently floated into the middle of the road. And I wasn't a big fan of science fiction movies or conspiracy theories for that matter, you know. When I heard people talking about seeing UFOs, or them people that say they've been abducted or this, that and the other, I would just think, yeah, okay then, you know, away and see a psychiatrist. But after seeing one myself, I mean, it might not even be, I'm not saying that it's aliens or anything like that, because obviously I never seen the occupants of this thing. It could very well be some black ops craft, you know, that they were testing out. But then I go again to the fact that they don't tend to fly military craft in residential areas, and they certainly wouldn't do it if it was a top secret ship. And then it goes into my mind, why was it above them houses? You know, what was it doing there? Why was it stationed there? Who in that home, you know, is anything happened? I don't know. and a few people have asked me to do that hypnosis regression, but I'm like, nah. I'd rather not know. If anything untoward had happened, I think that would just give me more give me nightmares. But as I said, I very well could have lost my bloody damn mind, and stood on that road for all them hours, staring up at some weird ass ship. That freaked out that I couldn't move. But that's not what it felt like at all. I didn't feel like I just stood there for 3 hours. Not at all. And then the fact that these hours had been missing, it was kind of scary. And because of that now, I won't go out myself at night alone, especially like walking walking anywhere, in fact. It freaked me out. I'm not so bad now, but it freaked me out so much where I refused to go outside after a certain time at night. And kind of ruined a lot of like trips and stuff like that because of my fear that I was ever going to see one of these things again. But as I says, in a way, if I wasn't on my own and I was with a group of friends, for example, I would love to be able to get photographic evidence, just to prove to myself that I'm not crazy. Because this thing, as I said, was enormous, and it was definitely what has been coined a flying saucer. And the movements of it, everything like that, just seemed that, we don't have craft like that can stand still silently over houses, then glide with absolutely no sound whatsoever. And the closer you are to them, they don't give you a pulling feeling that makes... and I feel like it was the light that was mesmerising me. But they don't give you that pulling feeling as if you're being dragged towards them. And it did totally scare me for a while to think, did I get away? Or did whoever's flying this thing just want to give me the illusion that I got away? So I see the craft standing there, mesmerised, thinking I get away. But as I'm running, it feels like I'm running through thick oil. I'm doing the best Speedy Gonzales move that I can, even though it obviously didn't work. And again, I can't say whether this was an earthbound ship, and I can't say if it was an extraterrestrial ship. All I can say is that I've never seen anything like it, and it put the fear of God into me. Now, because this UFO report, which makes me feel a little bit better, has been released, it makes me feel like I'm not as crazy. There are things in the sky that we don't know what they are. We don't know why who they belong to, and if they are from a distant galaxy while they're here. So they brought out, the Pentagon released a report, and this is what they had to say about it. So they said there is currently no evidence that any of the objects are related to a secret US weapons program or were developed by foreign adversaries. So these things weren't made by the US military or Russia, China, anything like that. The clustering of sightings near US military bases may just be the result of several kinds of collection bias. Now, where I lived happens to be about a mile away from an army base. So that's just food for thought. So most of the UAPs, that's what they're calling them now, is unidentified area phenomenon, probably were physical objects. I wouldn't say probably. This thing really was a physical object, since most were detected in multiple ways, including radar, infrared, electro-optical, weapon seekers, and visual observation. In addition, there are probably multiple types of these crafts. Objects exhibiting unusual flight characteristics, like the ones which appear to demonstrate advanced technological capabilities, could also be the result of sensor errors, spoofing, or observer misperception, and require additional rigorous analysis. Now, I wasn't experienced sensor observer misperception. I stood staring at this thing for about maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and I wasn't seeing anything. I would be the first to admit, because you do get people that do hallucinate. So I'd be the first to admit if someone had spiked my tea with magic mushrooms or something. But this definitely wasn't it. I didn't see Mickey Mouse jumping out through the craft and coming and saying hello. I didn't even see the occupiers of this thing. Regarding whether or not these objects represent a threat, Regarding whether these objects or not represent a threat, the report says that UAP clearly pose a risk to flight safety in the increasing crowded skies and may pose a challenge to national security. Well, I'll say, because they seem to be hovering about a load of military bases, and I can't say what was in I can't see what's in certain military bases, just through you don't want your enemies knowing where potential targets of interest are. So that's all to be kept a secret. And challenge to national security, particularly if the UAP were developed by adversaries, blah, blah, blah. Regarding whether or not these objects should represent a threat, the report says the UAP clearly pose a risk to flight safety. I've read that. Particularly when the UAP were developed by foreign adversaries. Well, I would say foreign. I don't know how foreign they are, but I wouldn't say it's in the country next to us. But anyway, and indicates potential adversary has developed either a breakthrough or disruptive technology. The US needs to collect and analyse more information, consolidate reporting, develop a more efficient way of screening and processing reports. Now, as I said, these objects have been caught around numerous military bases. There's even reports of them disabling nuclear missiles. So, it sounds to me, if these are anything, that they're trying to, well, this is just my speculation, that they're trying to save us from blowing ourselves up. So it really says nothing. The report makes no mention of extraterrestrial life. Again, I'm saying that myself. I cannot say who was the occupants of this thing. But the manoeuvres and things that I've seen, not by my sighting, but by videos that I've seen online, especially the videos from the fighter jets, these things, the way they manoeuvre, a human being wouldn't be able to survive. UAP could be of extraterrestrial origin. That doesn't mean the task force has ruled that possibility out, however. Now, to me, as I said, I've never seen anything like this, anything at all like this. I've never seen an aircraft or jet or helicopter be able to come to a standstill with no sound, then move with no visible signs of propulsion, no wings, nothing, absolutely nothing. I think the thing that terrifies me the most is not seeing this thing. It's what happened in those hours that I can't recall. But who knows, as I said, I could have been a lunatic and stood there for 3 or 4 hours, watching this thing just glide away like a helium balloon. I wish that was the case, but I know by thinking about it, the best thing I could have done was run, because as I said, I didn't want to be snatched up. I didn't want to be snatched up quicker than a toilet roll during COVID. And yeah, I was out of there. And I'll admit, at that point in time, I was a chicken, an absolute fucking chicken. But who wouldn't be? If you saw that in the sky, who wouldn't be? So that's my little story. I've never seen anything like that since. I'm grateful I've never seen anything like that since. And I was wondering, do any of yous have any stories? Have any of you seen weird things in the sky that doesn't look like an aeroplane, doesn't look like a helicopter, a weather balloon, a blimp, a bloody, I don't know, flying cow? I don't know. Has any of you got any stories? And what I was thinking, if you do have any stories and you'd like to share them, I would like to, and you can let me know in the comments section if you would be interested. I would like to start a little series. If people can send their stories in to me on my email, anything that they've seen that's paranormal, UFO, even if they've seen a bloody Bigfoot. And if you could send your stories to me, of course I'll change your names unless you don't want me to, and I'll credit you to the story and just use your first name. And once a week I'll read out maybe 1 or 2 stories. We can make it on, say, a Sunday, and we'll call it Spooky Story Sunday. Because I'm really interested in the weird and unnatural kind of stories, you know. Even if it's not even a paranormal story or a UFO story, even if it's just something strange that's happened to you that you can't explain. So let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in me doing that, because I think that would be kind of fun, hearing people's stories about weird encounters they've had, may it be if they've seen a ghost, may it be if they've seen a UFO, and I think that would be interesting. It also would let us get to know the people who are subscribed to the channel. So I'll post my email address below, and if you're interested, let me know. If you could let me know in the comments, because there's no point in starting something if no one's interested in listening. But until then, I'll speak to you soon. Bye, guys.